Listen to the radio program and answer questions 1 to 4.
And now, after that old favourite from the Corrs entitled I Never Loved You Anyway, we have Dr. Claire Greenhill to talk to us today about stress in the workplace. Is it getting worse, Dr. Greenhill?
I'm not sure whether it's getting worse or just that more people are talking about it. Certainly lots more people are complaining about it. I've just completed a study of 5,000 workers from 20 different countries, and I've taken a multicultural approach to the subject.
And what have you found?
That broadly speaking, the causes of stress are similar the world over. For example, Ramon from Mexico City says that society measures people by individual success. But he says increasingly work is organized in teams. This means there's a conflict between personal goals and the need to cooperate with one's colleagues. He finds this an acute source of stress, actually. Then there's Kikuko from Osaka, Japan, who says she's under a lot of stress because the company she's worked for 30 years is in difficulties. She says it's because her bosses made a number of bad decisions, but really what worries her most is that she might lose her job. You know, she's in her 50s, and at that age it's not easy to find another one. She says that she also feels overworked, and that's getting her stressed out too. Well, then there's Boris from Odessa in the Ukraine. He puts overwork at the top of his list of stressors. Then there are other factors. Both he and his wife have full-time jobs, so that when they get home, they don't get to relax much either. I guess that's a problem most of us can relate to.
We always hear about computers, email and cell phones as things which get people tearing their hair out. Is this true?
In many cases, yes. But not as much as you might think. Only 15% of respondents give this as the main cause. Etienne from Quebec, Canada is one, though he also mentions change and the feeling of being a victim of circumstances beyond his control. Other people talk about the amount of work which comes with continual change as being more stressing than new technologies themselves. People feel they lack stability in their working life. But we must remember that in many places it's really lack of new technology that puts people under most pressure. Take Nagwa from Sohag in Egypt, for example. She says that for her, the main source of stress was working in noisy, hot, unventilated conditions day in, day out, and with no end in sight. So it seems we can't win either way.
Before the radio program continues, look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen to the next part of the program and answer questions 5 to 10.
So what can we as individuals do to make things easier for ourselves?
Well, I've talked to a number of specialists about this, doctors and psychologists, and here are a few suggestions for reducing stress without you having to change your job. First, vary your diet. Fish, pasta, vegetables, fruit, and so on. Try not to live off sandwiches and fast food. A balanced diet, in other words. Also, we tend to drink too much coffee. Caffeine, the drug in coffee, gets us more nervous. So if you want to feel less stressed, drink less coffee. It's tough at first, but you'll notice the difference within just a few days. Finally, take regular exercise. It's a great way of relaxing, and of course it makes you more healthy too. For particular causes of stress, there are various things you can do. If your problem is that you think you've got too much work on your plate, what you probably need to do is manage time better. You have to learn to deal with the things which are really vital. Don't waste time on trivialities. There are courses to help you with this. If you are worried about unemployment, make plans so that if it happens, you are ready for it. Do things like set money aside and update your CV so it's attractive to new employers. As for new technologies, do training courses so that you feel at home with them and so that you don't feel frightened of them. So in the end, the best way to deal with stress is for you to take control of your life and not allow yourself to be a victim of circumstances.
Thank you, Dr. Claire Greenhill, on fighting stress. And just when you thought you could relax, here's Dolly Parton working 9 to 5.
That is the end of part 1. Now turns to part 2.
You are going to hear a conversation which happened in a travel agency.
First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Hi. I would like to make a reservation for a round-trip plane ticket from London to New York.
Welcome to the Student Travel Agency. London to New York. Let me see if we have any student specials for that flight. Yes, we do in fact. What days would you like to fly?
I am looking for a flight around the 10th of October or so.
And how about your return date?
Ideally, the 31st of October.
Let me check our computers to see if these dates are available. Are you looking for economy class or first class?
Economy class will be just fine.
We have an open flight on the 10th, but for your returning flight, the 31st of October is already fully booked. If you want to upgrade to first class, there are openings for the 31st. Just a few seats left, though.
How much do I have to add for first class?
First class will be around 20 to 25% more.
Well, that is not worth it. I would rather just fly on another day. Do I have any other options?
There are open seats back to London on the 1st of November. There are openings for first class that day too.
No, I won't be able to do that because I have to work. Is there anything before the 31st? Maybe the 30th or 29th?
Let me check. You can fly on the 29th, but not the 30th.
The 29th is a little bit early. Is there any way I can be on a waiting list of some sort?
Of course, but you should still confirm a return date just to be safe.
OK. How about if I book a return date on the 29th and add my name to the waiting list for the 31st? Can I do that?
Sure, I can do that for you. Do you also want to add your name on the waiting list for the 30th also? I would recommend this in the scenario that you do not get the flight for the 31st.
That is a good idea. How much will the round trip cost?
I will calculate your price for you. Your total will be £565, not including tax.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
That's not too bad. Is there any discount for students?
That is already including the discount. Without the discount, the price is easily over £600.
OK, that sounds good then. Please put me down for those dates.
I will need your information. Name and student identification number, please.
Kenneth Conley, student ID 92123020.
Your phone number, please.
87052109.
Please tell me your mailing address.
354 Westchester Drive, London.
Thank you very much, sir. How would you like to pay for the ticket?
I think I will pay in cash.
Well, you don't need to pay right now, just when you come to pick up the tickets. You will need to pick up the tickets at least 2 weeks before departure.
That is no problem. One quick question. What happens if for some reason I need to cancel my trip?
The student discount tickets are unfortunately non-refundable. However, if your cancellation is before 24 hours of takeoff time, then you can reschedule your flight for another day. If the cancellation is within 24 hours, then you forfeit your ticket.
I understand. Well, thank you very much. I will see you next week.
See you then.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Good morning and welcome to the program. Did you know that today is Earth Day? Well, in case you didn't, I'm here to tell you what you can do to save the planet. According to a new book published recently called 51 Easy Ways to Save the Planet, each household in the USA could save as much as $2,000 on annual bills and help the Earth at the same time. Most people seem to think that there's nothing they can do on a local level, that it's something for governments to tackle. Well, according to the authors of this book, they couldn't be more wrong. And those of you who don't live in the USA, stay with us, there's plenty you can do too. The book focuses on conserving energy, and the authors say that if 35% of the U.S. population can be persuaded to follow their suggestions, U.S. carbon dioxide emissions can be reduced to the level targeted in the Kyoto Protocol, signed by a number of countries, but not the USA, in 2001. Did you know, for example, that making a contribution to reducing the use of fossil fuels can be as simple as changing the type of light bulb you use? The new kind of bulb lasts 10 times longer, uses 1/4 of the energy, and produces more light per watt than the old type. Although they initially cost more, they quickly pay for themselves and will save you money in the long term. Another way the authors suggest you can save the planet is to place your refrigerator somewhere out of the sun and away from the oven or radiator. So simple. Now, do you leave the water running when you clean your teeth? Well, many of us do, and it's wasting precious resources. Apparently, if your faucet is leaky and drips every 3 seconds, it can waste 29 gallons or 110 liters of water a month. Scary or what?
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
It can waste 29 gallons or 110 liters of water a month. Scary or what? Also, if you take an 8-minute shower instead of a 10-minute one, you will save about 290 gallons or 1,100 liters of water a month. So start timing yourself today. Now, do you use the remote control for your TV? Do you realize that, according to the book, 1/4 of the energy consumed each year by the TV is used when it's actually turned off? Most people don't know about this, but the only way to stop wasting energy is to unplug it, not leave it on standby. Your car is the next target. Your car is responsible for emitting as much carbon dioxide per year as your whole house. So, choose your car with care. Tuning your engine will improve its efficiency by 15 to 50%, and just pumping up the tires regularly will save you $24 in gas. Food next. The average American eats 265 pounds or 120 kilos of beef per year. By reducing your intake by just 1 pound or half a kilo each week, you can save $109 over the year. Did you know that the electricity used to water, feed, and package just a pound of beef is the equivalent of burning 1 gallon of gas in your car's engine? Now, finally, when you go shopping, why don't you buy your groceries in bulk rather than in small sizes? This will result in annual savings of up to $293. But, of course, the problem is where to put all those bulk buys. Would you need to build an extra room, buy extra refrigerators, and use more electricity, thus defeating the object of saving energy? Well, that's a question I can't answer, but I do think there are some good ideas in this book. Why don't you try some out and let me know how you get on? There'll be a prize for the best email on the subject. So,
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40. Two.
Today on the food programme, I'm going to be telling you about 2 interesting websites which give you information about 2 very important foods, rice and noodles. First of all, let's look at the PageWise website. This site will tell you all about the history of rice, about the rice harvest, the different types of rice, how to cook it, and what else you can do with it. For example, did you know that rice belongs to the grass family and was first grown about 5,000 years ago in India? It was introduced into Europe about 700 years ago and arrived in the USA in 1726. Nowadays, more than 550 million tonnes is produced around the world each year, 92% of that being produced in Asia. Rice is the staple food for the majority of the world's population. That is, far more meals are based on rice than on anything else. It is naturally fat and sodium-free, and one serving has only 103 calories, so it's very good for you. Interestingly, although rice isn't as rich in vitamin C as the potato, for example, it is less fattening. Now, I always find rice difficult to cook, but the best way, apparently, is to keep the lid on the pan when you boil it. This will keep the steam in and produce perfect rice every time. One interesting thing to note is that European and American rice, which is grown in dry fields, absorbs a lot more water than Asian rice, which is grown in flooded fields. Now, other things you can do with rice besides eat it. You can make drinks from it, glue to stick paper together with, and also you can make clothes from it. Moving on now to the Japanese food page. There you can find out about the history of the noodle at the Yokohama Noodle Museum site. Noodles can be made from rice or wheat and are the fast food of Japan. There are more noodle shops in Japan than any other kind of restaurant. According to this website, noodles make one of the quickest and least expensive meals, much quicker than a rice dish, for example. The museum, which opened in March 1994, sounds like it's well worth a visit if you go to Japan. It's more than just an ordinary museum. It's part theme park and part restaurant. And it stays open later than most museums, from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., with the last admission being 10 p.m. The museum is open every day except for Tuesday, with Sunday being the busiest day and Thursday being the least busy. The first floor of the museum has a souvenir shop, and you can buy noodle-related objects online as well. It sells bowls for eating noodles out of, equipment for making noodles, even curtains with pictures of noodles on them. There are empty noodle packets on the walls for decoration, and overhead TVs show adverts for noodles from the past 25 years. You can see a display showing how noodles are made, and also one giving the history of the noodle. On 2 underground levels, there is a historical theme park with shops, houses and restaurants from the year 1958. There are also 8 different noodle shops serving 10 different types of noodle. If you want to go, you can get there by train. The museum is only a 3-minute walk from JR Shin Yokohama railway station. Shin Yokohama is about 45 minutes from Tokyo. On the programme next week, we'll be talking about the...
That is the end of part 4.